Hi, everybody. It is 9 a.m. here on the East Coast and the West Coast, that is. I'm Bianca Della Garza. Thanks so much for joining us. There's a lot to get to, a lot of developing news this Monday, John.
That's right, Bianca. We start with the flashpoint that is eastern Ukraine. Reports saying today that President Biden could potentially send thousands of troops near the region amid growing fears of war. Both the U.S. and Britain have also ordered embassy staff and family members to leave Kyiv because of the risk of, quote, significant military action by Russia. Our own John Gizzi reporting today that Britain believes Moscow is plotting a coup attempt and may try to install a pro-Russian leader in Ukraine. That announcement coming in a very unusual public statement by British officials. That statement also supported by U.S. security officials. Bianca.
And, John, there's more in the U.S. Embassy's statement about the Americans that are still remaining in Ukraine. Here's the very latest. This is the statement. Military action by Russia could come at any time. And in this statement, they added that officials would not be in a position to evacuate American citizens in such a contingency. So U.S. citizens currently present in Ukraine should plan accordingly, end quote. Of course, tensions in Ukraine have been increasing for months. This after the Kremlin massed some 100,000 troops near Ukraine's borders.
And over the weekend, Secretary of State Antony Blinken issued this warning to Kremlin.
If a single additional Russian force goes into Ukraine in an aggressive way, as I said, that would trigger a swift, a severe, and a united response from us and from Europe.
All right, for the latest on this, let's welcome in Chief White House Correspondent James Rosen. James, good afternoon.
John and Bianca, good afternoon to you. This was supposed to be another week for diplomacy, with U.S. and Russian officials scheduled to exchange written documents addressing each other's security concerns. But even as action proceeds along that track, the Russian Defense Ministry released new video footage showing its delivery of more military vehicles to Belarus, another former Soviet satellite state that has a border with Ukraine. Russian troops have been conducting joint military exercises with Belarusian units that have taken them to within 50 miles of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Meantime, the U.S. and NATO allies continue steering more defense hardware of their own to the Ukrainian military. The first of several shipments totaling $200 million arrived in Kyiv on Friday, January 22, and U.S. officials said more will arrive in the weeks to come. In all, the U.S. has committed more than $650 million in security assistance to Ukraine in just the past year. Nonetheless, the top Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee said President Biden has been projecting weakness, including in that extraordinary news conference last Wednesday.
Inflation is hitting everyone's pockets and almost likes to brag about are all being.
President Biden returned to the White House about an hour and a half ago from Camp David. There, over the weekend, he held a national security session with some participants face-to-face with the president at Camp David, others participating via remote video conference. And it was there that Pentagon officials reportedly presented to the commander-in-chief options for him to deploy more U.S. troops to the region. We're hearing numbers between 1,000 and 5,000. However, that decision has not been taken by the commander-in-chief just yet. John and Bianca.
All right, James Rosen for us live at the White House. We'll hear from James throughout the day, of course, here on Newsmax. Well, Petro Poroshenko, the former leader of Ukraine, tweeted in 2020 that that country was blessed by Joe Biden's presidential win. His comments raised some eyebrows at the time because of Biden's Ukrainian resume. The vice president worked closely with Ukraine during the Obama administration. Of course, that was the last time Vladimir Putin took part of that country back for himself. This was the same time that Hunter Biden was, quote, struggling with addiction and financial problems, according to a New York Times November of 2019 report. At the same time, Hunter was also on the board of a Ukrainian gas company called Burisma Holdings. And we're now starting to learn a little bit more information about some of these foreign business deals involving Hunter, thanks to the New York Post and Senate Republicans. Take a look at this. Hunter Biden allegedly received a $3.5 billion wire transfer from a Russian billionaire named Elena Baturina. She's the richest woman in Russia and was the widow of the former mayor of Moscow. Baturina is referenced in a new 87-page GOP report addressing her payment to Hunter Biden's investment firm in early 2014. The report described her relationship with Hunter as financial, but they declined to delve deeper into why the wire transfer was actually made. Hunter Biden, through his attorney, has denied this allegation in both the New York Post and the GOP report. We're going to talk to Congressman Pat Fallon. He'll join us in the next hour to talk more about Ukraine and the potential conflicts of interest with the Bidens. Again, that's coming up at 1 o'clock.
And as you know, John, Americans continue to believe our country is heading in the wrong direction. According to the latest NBC News poll just out, Biden's approval remains in the low 40s. It is just at 43%. And 72% of Americans now saying, yes, our country is headed in the wrong direction. And if asked, if the 2024 presidential election was held right now, only 60% of voters say they would vote for someone other than President Joe Biden. Now, this is according to the latest Fox News poll just out today. 36% say they would vote for Biden's reelection. So joining us now to discuss these polls and so much more is RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. Ronna, thanks so much for joining us on this busy Monday.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's first kick it off with these poll numbers. They continue to just go down and down. We're only a year in, Ronna, but be it inflation, COVID, broken border, even that foreign policy, everything Biden touches seems to be a disaster. So how encouraged are you now with the midterms just being 10 months away?
Well, of course, I'm sad for our country that people are suffering. I mean, we don't want this. We don't want empty grocery stores. We don't want kids out of school. We don't want crime in our cities because of the Democrats' radical defund the police agenda. But of course, we are seeing an enthusiasm among Republican voters. This does not bode well for Democrats, but I'm not taking anything for granted. Democrats will do anything to maintain power. So Republicans have to get out and vote. We have to be engaged, and we have to work to make sure we take back the Senate and the House so we can stop this downward spiral of our country.
Yeah, very well said. Of course, we wish America was in a better position just a year in. President Biden's election reform, his spending packages stalled. I want to get your reaction, though, to something Bernie Sanders said yesterday on CNN. Let's take a listen.
What has bothered me very much is the Republicans are laughing all the way to Election Day. They have not had to cast one bloody vote.
Well, again, I don't think any of us are laughing. Maybe people are encouraged, of course, to hope to get some more movement here. But Sanders went on to say that what Congress has done for the past 6 months has, quote, failed, and that we need to change course. So now we're seeing, Biden's own base, a chorus of critics that's getting louder. You have Manchin, you have Sinema. I mean, Ronna, I'm not sure that there's any amount of damage control now that will turn this around for Biden and this administration. How about you?
I don't. And I think he's doubled down on the Bernie Sanders wing of his party. I mean, Joe Biden just went and asked for the Senate to get rid of the filibuster, something every single Democrat was defending a year ago. Mm-hmm. They are all in for stacking the Supreme Court. They're approving states allowing non-citizens to vote, which, by the way, is disapproved by over 70% of Americans. They are so radical. The crime rates, the cashless bail, what's happening with our border. So many things that Biden's doubled down on. The American people thought he was going to be a middleman, a moderate. He's been a Bernie Sanders president.
And it's only Monday. I don't know what you did over the weekend. But if it was up to Jen Psaki, apparently this is what she was suggesting that we could all get behind. Let's listen to her comments on The View.
My advice to everyone out there who's frustrated, sad, angry, pissed off, feel those emotions. Go to a kickboxing class, have a margarita, do whatever you need to do this weekend, and then wake up on Monday morning. We got to keep fighting.
I mean, is she joking? And before we get your thoughts, we here at the station kind of thought of this iconic film moment when we heard Jen Psaki. It's like Animal House. Maybe funny then, right? But in today's world, I mean, is this really where we're at, encouraging people to drink, Ronna?
I think Biden supporters should go kickboxing, go drinking, and Republicans go out and vote. Let's make sure that we take back the House and the Senate. So I think everybody who supports Jen Psaki, take her advice. Everybody else who loves this country, go do what we need to do to take back the House and the Senate and turn this country around, because they're destroying it every single day.
And, in fact, 61% of people out in some of the poll numbers are saying that their income is now falling below their cost of living. So, again, we're really talking about the backbone of America. People can't afford to put food on the table. We can barely afford to fill up our cars. How do we hold on to the midterms, though? What suggestions do you have for people out there who are watching these disastrous policies and trying just to make ends meet?
Well, it is sad, and I see it all across my state of Michigan. Our grocery stores are empty. We still have kids out of school in the Detroit public school system. I mean, it is really, really scary for a lot of families. And so what I say, go be an election worker, go be a poll watcher, go to GOP.com, get engaged, talk to your neighbors. There's nothing about this election that should let us feel complacent. And we are on the front lines of determining the future for our children. And there's no more important election than the one upcoming in 2022.
We know that, and we already hear the Democrats and Biden talking about this voting rights bill. I mean, we've seen record turnout, even in minorities, yet they're already trying to almost lay the pre-pro here of that they may not be able to trust the midterms because of things that are happening. They say people can't get access to voting, but a lot of folks in America saying they don't believe it. They're just trying to make it easier for people to do what is massive mail-in balloting and maybe not have the transparency that we really as Americans demand in our elections.
Democrats are fighting to have non-citizens vote and open borders. Republicans are fighting to have an ID to show who you are when you vote. I think I know most Americans agree that we should verify who we are before we cast a ballot. Democrats are stripping away every single safeguard to our elections. We call their bill not the voting rights bill, it's the right to cheat bill. That's what they're trying to pass. That bill would have stripped voter ID in 36 states. It would have made it so that a third person could come in and say, oh, this person is who they say they are. How is that good for our elections, especially from a party that is saying you can't go to a restaurant or go to a hotel without showing a vaccine card and your ID? It is so hypocritical. All they're trying to do is undermine the security of our elections.
And then rising geopolitical tensions. Of course, we're just watching and waiting everything happening overseas when it comes to Russia and Ukraine and how it could also impact, what could be another, not that we want to see anyone being evacuated, but we saw how he handled Afghanistan. Real quick, your thoughts when you hear we're evacuating people from Kiev today, Rona?
I think it's really frightening. I mean, the last time Russia did this, Joe Biden was in the White House, and now we're seeing it again. Putin knows that Biden is a weak leader, and he's taking advantage. And we are seeing our country erode our national security under Biden, not just with Russia, but with China. And I think a lot of people wish they had the heavy, strong hand of Donald Trump at the helm of our country right now.
Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the RNC, thank you so much for your time and your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, still ahead this hour, Oath Keepers founder Stewart Rhodes making his first court appearance today after his... All right, welcome back. U.S. prosecutors arguing today that one of the founders of the Oath Keepers, Stewart Rhodes, should remain in jail while he awaits trial. Rhodes is the first person charged with seditious conspiracy for his alleged role in the January 6th Capitol breach. He is facing a detention hearing in federal court. That charge makes Rhodes the most high-profile defendant out of the more than 725 people arrested so far. If he is convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison. Rhodes is a graduate of Yale Law School, but he was disbarred. He never actually entered the Capitol, but he was seen on video consulting with other members of the Oath Keepers before the breach. And his arrest came well after other members of the Oath Keepers who have already been arrested. Also on this front, Congressman Benny Thompson, the chairman of the House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol breach, says he has already had conversations with former Attorney General William Barr. Though Thompson offered no specific information on what the two discussed, he also said that he was, quote, concerned that our military was part of the big lie on promoting the election false. That was Benny Thompson talking about his latest developments. And they are still talking about these primetime hearings. We'll see what comes of it, but there's been a lot of run-up to this first televised hearings. Also, we are learning that AG Merrick Garland and members of the U.S. House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol breach could go to jail if Republicans win control of Congress in the midterm election. That, of course, is according to former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, who appeared on Fox News Sunday yesterday.
And it's basically a lynch mob. And unfortunately, the Attorney General of the United States has joined that lynch mob.